about the glycemic control, which we constantly work towards. How does that is linked with the skin health? How prominent it plays an important role in the skin health and the visibility of our skin, and what all signs and symptoms are we
Ashmita,
able
can
to
we
see?
repeat the question again? We lost you in between. Can you just come again with the question?
Am I audible?
Yes, now you are audible.
Yes. Am I audible? All right. So yeah. So, Dr. Rashmi, I wanted to address the question about the connection between glycemic control inside the body and skin health. So, what exactly is the relation between the two, and how can we manage our skin health by just addressing the glycemic control inside our bodies?
Yeah, very good question. And firstly, good morning to everyone, and thank you everyone for joining. This is our second part, and it's going to be very interesting because we are going to be discussing a lot about the common products that we have to use for the skin, and also a bit on the hair. So, you know, do post in your questions, and I'll be happy to take it forward. The main so Asmita, basically coming to the glycemic control and what impact it will have on the type of product that we have to use. What we need to understand is that as we discussed yesterday in quite a bit of detail, diabetes is a metabolic syndrome, and there is a lot of hyperglycemia. And this hyperglycemia is not just present within the blood system, it's present in secretions. It could come in through the secretory secretions, it could be present in the sweat, it could be present in the skin. The glucose levels go up, and then, of course, in the urine, and so on and so forth. So, we definitely need to be looking at that aspect. So first and foremost, no doubt, is the glycemic control that we need to achieve in our complete fight against diabetes. But then the skincare needs to change. What will happen when the glycemic index goes up in the skin? That is what we have to understand. And accordingly, then the product can be thought of, and the personal hygiene comes in and all that. So we all know, as soon as the sugar levels go up in any part of the body, the bacteria are just waiting to propagate. And skin has almost about 80 to 90% bacteria, because skin is a external organ. So there is so much bacterial load already present in the skin. It just needs one barrier to just be broken, and then the bacteria will just start propagating and start having its ill effects on the skin. And what are the ill effects? We have the infections which can set in. The bacterial infection, especially Staph aureus, is the bacteria which has a lot of implications. So hair follicle infections can come in, and so a lot of bacterial infection, especially we call furuncles or boils coming, and they are quite recurrent in when the glycemic control is not good. So they'll keep coming. So we treat it, and then it will keep coming back again. So it's very important to treat it properly. We normally give a very long course of antibiotics. In terms of the personal hygiene, it's very important to use a body wash which has the antibacterial properties, and also keep the bacterial the skin healthy. So a lot of moisturizers are available currently, which will keep the biofilm of the skin. Bio is organisms. So there are a lot of good organisms also which are present in our skin, which will fight against these bacteria. So they basically take up the nutrition more, so that the bad bacteria is not able to propagate, or any bad organism and unhealthy organism is not able to propagate. So we have a lot of products pertaining to that, which helps in maintaining the biofilm. That's very important. And also the other important aspect is the gut health in these kind of scenarios. Certain personal hygiene has to be maintained in terms of having a bath twice, changing the towels regularly, ironing the clothes that one is wearing, including the the unders, which have to be also ironed, not washing the private area often, because I have seen in my practice many patients come to me saying that they wash it very regularly, and which is definitely not required, and it actually washes out a lot of good bacteria, and it also creates the atmosphere for the organisms to grow, even fungus to grow. So it's very important to maintain that hygiene of the private areas also, because urine is again will be hyperglycemic, right? So sugar levels will be high there. So that will also then cause the increase in fungal infections. UTIs are quite common, which can have an impact. So these are some things which have to be taken care of. So in terms of, if to summarize the products, one is pick up a good body wash, which has antibacterial properties. Secondly, use creams which have that biofilm. They work as moisturizers. Use it, in fact, even for the private areas and all the areas which are subjected to these infections. It could be in the chest area, it could be underarms, which are very prone for these, and maintaining good personal hygiene. But once the infection sets in, we'll need to be more aggressive in our approach and treat it with antibiotics, treat it with antibiotic creams, and on a slightly long term. And that is very critical. Some people come with the notion that we need to just treat it for 7 days, but skin infections, always we have to treat it for a longer time. So that is the key here.
Also, we do have a lot of OTC products. So people are going to tend to find something which they can just pick it up. So is there any ingredients that they should be cautious about? Is there any harmful ingredients that they should look for some OTC moisturizers, or any, for that matter, any body washes they are looking out for? So is there any ingredient list like to
Yeah.
be aware
So
of?
sulfates are something which we are going away. Sulfate and parabens are something, though it is a very controversial thing. Still, not very conclusive reports have come that, oh, okay, parabens are bad and sulfates are bad. Sulfate to some extent, but parabens, we still don't have a conclusive report from our dermatology perspective. We've had a lot of discussions in our dermatology circuit at the all India level, at an international level, and paraben free and all that is not much. It's more a marketing gimmick. Oh, this product is paraben free, and then it's going to be good. So there's not much conclusions which are coming up there. Products, typically we don't, as dermatologists, especially with diabetics, we don't want them to have too oily product, because they also manifest with they can lead to a lot of infection, because again, oil, one is, of course, it creates occlusion, but it also creates lot of folliculitis and things like that, and chronic folliculitis. So, and even paraffin, many people are used to using glycerin or paraffin in their products, and that is something again which we would like to avoid, because it has long-term implication. Castor oil is the other ingredient which causes a lot of allergies. In fact, all our lipsticks and most of it had a lot of castor oil, and it led to a lot of lip allergies previously. And nowadays, things are going away from that. So these are some key things that we have to be careful. Of course, it is a very subjective thing. Everyone, responds to a particular thing very differently. But a basic idea on these and will be helpful. And try to pick up products which are medicated from the pharma industry. Nowadays, India is doing very well with that. We get a lot of products which are well researched in Europe, and which have come to India. And nowadays we don't. Initially, I remember we used to order it from, abroad. Like anyone comes from abroad, then we used to ask our relatives, okay, get this or get that. But most of the products are available in India. India is doing extremely well with regards to that. And the other thing I would like to add is many a times we buy products which are from Europe, even the basic one, which moisturizers and things like that. They are mainly researched, Asmita, for a European skin or a Caucasian skin. And our Indian skin is a very different skin. Asian skin is very different. So it is not, and the weather, of course, is totally different. Like even in India, there is so much diversity in the complete skin conditions and also the weather. So it is very important that we pick up products which are available in India and also meant for Indian skin. So that is one of the keys that we have to understand.
Would you like to share any incident where you actually, came across somebody who just picked up a product or maybe something like that, and they actually had allergic reactions, without consulting their dermat, they are going about it. So that's actually a
So
risky thing to do.
there are so many. So when we do our consultations, we usually ask them to get all the products that they've been using. So there've been people who just buy a lot of things, because of the social media influence and a lot of things, activity around it, which is, it happens. So we have a lot of people who buy products which becomes unnecessary, and the conditions sometimes are not very easy to be treated by OTC. What we need to understand is that OTC, your one is buying the product and taking it home. The percentage of the product when we buying it OTC will always be of less concentration, because there is no authority to use a higher concentration, right? So there is a message here which has been coming. You've been signed out. Are you able to hear me?
No, no, ma'am, we are able to hear you. You
Yeah,
are
I
there.
can hear you.
Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, so basically, the product will be of lesser concentration, which is sometimes a suboptimal concentration, and it may not actually do the benefit, but may also lead to uh, a damage per se. So it is important for us to understand that OTC will be like that, and it has a far further reach and things like that. But we don't, the concept we have to understand. So when we deal with pharma products, they are all evidence-based. When I typically like to prescribe anything in my prescription, they come with lot of evidence-based. We all practice, particularly me, I practice evidence-based medicine. And evidence-based medicine is that there is a background of lot of evidence, a lot of research, lot of data available for the on the product, about the benefits of it and also the safety factor of it. So that I would like to specifically mention. These products don't come into our hands so easily. There's a lot of research which has happened and many years of research. And after when it comes to us and our knowledge, we also do our own background check. So we use it ourselves. I use it myself, and of course, my staff and everything, and then that product will reach you. So there's a lot of due diligence which is done when we prescribe products. So that we need to understand.
All right. So it's best to actually consult a dermat before going about.
Always. Skin
Yeah.
is the largest organ of the body, and it's an external organ. It will behave very differently depending on the weather, depending upon your own body status, depending upon many things. One of the, it is an interface between the environment and our human body. So changes happening within the body also will affect the skin, and changes in the environment also will affect the skin. So we have to be prepared for it. And some things are not in our control, like weather changes are not in our control. Sometimes the body changes within our body, like in diabetes, will not be in our control. So that is the reason why we have to have a customization, which I strongly believe. Every individual, every skin is very unique. So we cannot have a general kind of products. Few products are fine, but some of them, we need to be more specific.
All right, okay. Also, we wanted to understand now that there's a lot of influence from the social media as well. People are just going about, a lot of treatments, be it chemical, cleansing, or maybe any of those treatments, or even Botox for that matter. Now it's very, very trendy. So, how should a person with diabetes or even a normal individual, how safe is it, and how we should be aware that this also has its own pros and cons? Coming from a dermatologist, we should be aware about that, that these are some
Uh,
things that we should be caring about.
no, in terms of what you are looking at procedures, or you're looking more at
Like the chemical
Procedures.
cleansing, yeah, procedures which are related to chemical cleansing, yellow peel, or even laser toning, HIFU. These are very common, treatments
terms?
nowadays. Yeah.
See, what I like to do is, see, there is a certain time in your life, in everyone's life, where the products are able to manage a lot of things. But especially when we look at diabetes or any other metabolic conditions, the skin takes a bit of a toll, we all know, and for various reasons. So they can be aging changes which may happen faster, because there is lot of oxidative damage which happens in the skin. Any metabolic condition will lead to a lot of oxidative damage. And oxidative damage has impact in aging and many other life processes. So that is something which we have to understand. So after a certain age, Asmita, it's very important to look at certain procedures. Now, it depends on the skin condition and what procedures that we have to customize a person with. But the reason for procedures is that we have to also understand the anatomically. Skin has two layers, as we know. The first top layer is the epidermis, which is about 20 to 30 layers. And the main function of it is protection. So it will not we don't want it to be compromised with protection. This we tried to discuss it a bit in detail yesterday also. So the protection is its paramount function. It is very, very critical for it to function in that level, because then our survival is dependent on it. All the bacteria, all the viruses, it prevents, it protects us from there, it protects us from sunlight, weather, pollution, dust, products, many a times, the water, everything it protects. Now, deeper to that is the dermis, and dermis is the live layer typically. It has all the blood vessels, it has elasticity, it has strength, which it provides it to be epidermis. So, both of them have to function well. Now, epidermis, if things get compromised, then the dermis also starts getting compromised. So most of the hyperglycemic effects happen at the dermis level. Body has certain instincts where it would like to keep the epidermis as healthy as possible for its own survival. So it doesn't give any loopholes to it. There is not even any blood supply which is happening to the epidermis, because that will itself compromise. You understanding? That's how beautifully the structure has been created. So so what happens is, when the dermis is getting involved, then whenever our treatments have to happen or creams have to be prescribed, they have to reach the dermis. Now, in certain age group, when we are younger, the body's capability to absorb these nutrients and products are much easier, right? I mean, we have seen in younger individuals, we don't generally like to give too many supplements and things like that. But
Yes.
as we grow older, we need the supplements. And the other thing which happens is, as we grow, as we age, and as the aging progresses, the body has to take care of many, many things, like many systems. So how much will it be concentrating on the skin is something which is not known, not hair for that matter. We are not aware. So that is the reason why we need to start focusing on the dermis more prominently. And that is where all these procedures have evolved. So we have seen a huge breakthrough, I would say, and also evolution of these procedures. So 20 years back when I was practicing, we used to have not many procedures. And those procedures also used to be a bit difficult for an Indian skin context because our skin is very different. How it responds to light is very different. So, and anything you're applying on the face or anything, and light is obviously there around us, it will have an impact. But the evolution of procedures have been fantastic over the last 20 years, and we have a lot of safe procedures which have come in. And it is important to some extent to look at these procedures to get the result. So that is the idea that we have to understand. What is the tissue we are targeting? We want to target the derms, be it for aging, be it for pigmentation, be it for healthiness of the skin, because that gives the blood supply to it, be it for acne problems. Acne is again an oil gland problem present in the dermis. And the second aspect is that the procedures help us to reach there, which the creams are not able to. So, as you
Yes.
mentioned, there are a lot of procedures. We have peels, which
Mhm.
are very basic right now, and so on and so forth. And the HIFU is there, which is more for aging and
Yeah.
tightness. And all these procedures have to be done regularly. So it's not that there is an end point to things, and you can play around with procedures which your dermatologist will be able to guide you. So
Yes.
always we have to have a plan in place. Like when we work out, we do a lot of things, right? We cannot just do a treadmill or a cardio and just do strengthening of one muscle. So one day we'll do one muscle group and the next day we'll do another muscle group. But we try to do abdomen more because we know abdomen is very critical for metabolism.
Yes.
So that kind of thing we have to get into a plan.
We also have one question on the chat box related to very interesting. Diabetes causes loss of collagen or maybe aging for that matter. So, what is all about the collagen and the supplements that are in the market? What
Yeah.
about that?
Very good question. And this is always a bit dicey for with diabetics because
Mm.
most of the collagen then come with a lot of sugars, and we don't want
Mhm.
again increase in sugar.
Yes.
So that is a bit dicey. So we have to be really stringent in using something which is non-sugary. Collagen, again, there are many school of thoughts for it. Some people are in favor of it, and some people are not in favor of it. I personally feel that it has a lot of favorable things attached to it, and there is no harm in picking up these collagen. It's called collagen peptides, and collagen is an important structure not just for the skin but also for joints and ligaments, tendons. It's present all over. And of course, there is a lot of changes which happens in the skin and even the joints when the decrease of collagen happens because of the aging changes. So collagen is important and it helps in building up. Collagen peptides help in building. The problem is what kind of collagen. Many people say plant collagen are used, but that's not going to be helpful. We have to use the marine collagen or bovine collagen. Marine collagen is what is most popular. And I'm definitely in favor of it. We can take it for 3 months to 6 months, give a gap, again take it. So they work as supplements. They're not going to just change the whole, skin and things like that because that's too much to ask for. But there's a lot of, it's more regenerative medicine. It's more preventive medicine, and that's why it's helpful.
Very rightly mentioned. I'm also noting it down in the chat box so people can, go through it if
But
they're missing it.
there are different school of thoughts. Like some school of thoughts is oral, intake will not help that much. Yes, it may not help that much, but some help will be there. Because then how can we boost the collagen of the complete body? Face to some extent we can do with lot of procedures, but what about the rest of the body? So,
Yes, exactly. That's one of the major things we also have to make people understand.
and what's the
Yeah.
age that we can start is another thing, Asmit. So
For
typically I
treatments.
would recommend around 30, 35.
Mm.
We are blessed with a lot of good skin and in terms of our aging. And so I think around 30, 35, 35 is a good time. And in fact, what I've seen, Asmita, is many people in the menopausal age group also, when they take collagen, their hot flushes are also reduced. So there are a lot of patients of mine where I put them on collagen and they come back and tell me, Dr. Rashmi, we also had relief on our hot flushes. So it may be subjective to the person, but it's a good thing to have.
Again, the whole wrinkling and these questions are coming on the chat group as well. People are actually concerned about these terms. So skin wrinkling or maybe the fine lines that we talk about, is that also related to the collagen peptides and all of those factors?
Wrinkling again is the aging process when the elasticity and the collagen is reduced. It's two fibers now. There is collagen also and there is elastin also, which is present in the skin. And wrinkling typically happens when the collagen also deteriorates and the elastin also deteriorates. So elasticity also. So when we pinch, the skin comes back to its normal position. But as we age, this going back to its normal position becomes less. We can test it around our eyes, and this is a very important test that we do. How is the elasticity here? Because if it doesn't go back very easily, then of course it requires some kind of treatment. So, and also then there are a lot of changes, like we keep face is again so expressive. We are using so many muscles all the time. Like we keep frowning or we keep moving our eyebrows. We smile a lot, and so all what will happen is these muscles are actually present very close to the skin on the face. They're not very deeply present. So if you see the deltoid or any other muscles, the biceps, they're present very slightly deeper and they're more bulkier. First of all, these muscles are very fine. And secondly, they are actually moving with the skin. So when they move, the skin moves. So that is something which, so the skin keeps moving as we make these expressions. So because expressions are happening only when the muscles move, right? So, and then the expression lines come. So there are different grades of it. There is a grade one where it comes only when the movement happens, and it is called dynamic lines. And then we have the static lines. So where it remains even then, even if there is no movement. So that's gone up the grade. So we don't want the dynamic lines to actually become static, because then the treatment will change and it's not very easy then to the amount of collagen which has degraded is much more. So
Okay.
are the different things that we notice. So whenever we do a consultation, whenever I do a consultation for looking at the face and things like that, which I'm hoping we can discuss it further in a few more sessions, is to also analyze the complete facial expression. So any aging treatments cannot be just done. Oh, okay, I have a line here, I'll target it. But is it in synchronicity with the other part of the face is what we need to check.
All right. So, rightly mentioning about the aging thing as well. So, some skincare routine or maybe tips that people can follow at their own places.
Yes, yes. Most important thing for anti-aging, the most important, Asmita, and I'm happy you asked me
Mm.
this question. I was waiting that, we have this question around, is to use the sunscreen. Please do not compromise. It's a non-negotiable product, non-negotiable. And there are a few tips that all of us should know, and we should educate our children, our family members on it. Is that sunscreen is the largest part of your day will happen with sunscreen. So you have to keep using sunscreen. Sunscreen is a product. Firstly, many people think, Asmita, is that sunscreen should be used only when I go out in the sun because it's mentioned sunscreen. But right now, in the current times, we are not in sun all the time. We are in front of devices, and these also emit a lot of light. So there is a lot of blue light which is coming through, and blue light goes almost at the level of upper dermis. It doesn't go. It's not that it's only going on the superficial skin and getting deflected. So it is going deeper and it is causing a lot of aging changes. I've had a lot of patients coming to me in the COVID times and post COVID where they said we are not going out, but we are getting pigmented. So it's very important to use sunscreen even when we are working, and ideally you should be using every 2-3 hours. That's how frequent we should be using because the sunscreens typically will absorb the light energy and get deactivated. So a deactivated sunscreen is of no consequence. So we have to keep using it, 3 to 4 times daily. So this is a very important take-home message for all of you that please use your sunscreen. Invest in a good sunscreen. Even though they may be a bit more expensive, but it's worth it because you are using it for a huge time during the day. Almost your 12 hours goes with only sunscreen. There's no other product required during the day if you're using sunscreen. It's that important. So that is very critical. And we should be also picking up sunscreen, which are good for us. Nowadays, we have beautiful sunscreens available. We have water-based, we have lotion-based. I had a patient yesterday and she prefers only lotion-based sunscreen for face. So we have a lotion-based sunscreen. Some people prefer just gel-based sunscreen. So water-based, it's like water on the skin. You won't even know you've applied. And then we have tinted sunscreens available, which again, for many individuals who have makeup on during the day or something, they feel that their makeup will go away when they use sunscreen. So we have tinted sunscreens for that. So my suggestion is when you consult your dermatologist, like what I do typically is I make them try the product. So if tinted is there, I ask them to apply it then and there in front of me, and so that they check it on their skin whether they like it or not, or any other sunscreen which I'm prescribing. So I try to keep some samples of the sunscreen with me so that they can try and test it and see what they like it, because ultimately when they like it, they'll use it.
That's actually very informative. I was also not aware about the whole that even sunscreens we have tainted and everything for makeup as well, like a separate
Yeah.
category in that. Also, we notice a lot of terms like SPF 30, SPF 40. What should a layman understand out of that?
Yeah, very good question again. So SPF 50 is a good number. Now we have in fact a sunscreen with us which is SPF 100. So not, but the idea we have to understand, Asmita, it doesn't matter whether if the SPF is 50 or something or 100, we don't have to apply it again. It is just protecting you that 100 times more or 50 times more, but it's getting deactivated also. So we have to remember that we have to keep applying it. And especially when you go out in the sun, you should apply 20 minutes before. There's an important index called PA index also, which is for the UV radiation, UV air radiation, which is very important. Again, there are products which will mention whether it is non-comedogenic, which is for acne, so we need to pick up products which are non-comedogenic. It should be mentioned there. So there are various specifications of sunscreen which come. And typically in the medicated platform, we have very well-researched products which are available.
All right, understood, understood.
There are
Okay.
sunscreens also which you prescribe for children, which
Oh,
has
is
zinc
it?
oxide, titanium dioxide, which is
Mhm.
also very good. There are again different schools of thought for the usage and safety of sunscreen. But I think the safety, sometimes in some people we do look at, the physical sunscreens.
And
So
ideal it is to use it every 2 to 3 hours, is it?
yes,
Even while
every
working at
2 to 3 hours, irrespective of whether one is going up.
home.
do apply it on all the exposed areas, and face, neck. Do not neglect the neck, hands, and the arms and forearms, whichever is exposed. So these are very important. And in Bangalore, in fact, we see a lot of sun allergies also happening. Uh, Many people coming from Delhi will say that we don't get allergy there, but we get it here because that's because the weather is like that. In fact, so we should be using sunscreen, and even if it's cloudy, we should be using. So all these will not matter. And when we go out in the sun, also we should also protect ourselves. So it's not that oh, I've used sunscreen now I can stand in the sun for whatever time. That's not going to work. You have to protect yourself. Wear a cap. There are a lot of SPF clothing which is available. So if you're allergic, you should pick up one of those to protect yourself. So these kind of things.
Understood. So the people are also, inquiring about brands that we can opt for. Any good brand or ideal brands?
There are a lot of good ones. Like I use. There is a company called Eclaris, so I use their Photon. It's called Photon Hydra Photon Tint, which is good. I use another product which is Omni Screen, which is again nice. There is from Glenmark. There's Dark Shield, which is doing well. Um, so there are many which are available and very conducive to the Indian skin. And so they're quite helpful and nice. So there's one more called UV Screen, which I think Dr. Chavi likes a lot. Uh, so
And lastly, about the loss of hair is one of the most commonest. We'll find that as a very common complaint, and people are actually very concerned about that. So, how to go about maintaining your scalp health for that matter? Because
yeah,
we can still apply.
correct. Again, in diabetics, scalp is another area which can get affected because, again, it's a very conducive environment for the bacterial group to happen, folliculitis to happen, even dandruff to happen because of the fungal infections. So, washing the hair regularly and is very important. Drying it completely. We should not leave it undry. Sometimes even a dryer will be helpful, but not too much usage of it. And apart from that, also there are a lot of lotions nowadays available just to keep a check on the maintaining the healthiness of the scalp. So they can be used about 10 to 15 minutes before shampoo, or there are a lot of day creams available for scalp, which can also be used. So these are some important things. And of course, it becomes more, we have to definitely treat it with a lot of medications. So, but it should not be neglected. Other thing is that in scalp, typically, Asmita, people think that oh, it will go and it can't come back, but that doesn't happen in scalp. It will, there will be flare-ups which can happen. That time we have to, step up the treatment, and when it comes down, we have to maintain. So maintenance also, like any other body condition, has to be done for the scalp also. The other thing which typically we see is the hair fall, which happens because of nutritional deficiencies, because of the hypermetabolic state. Hair is definitely not given too much importance. So that is another place where some supplementation may be required, and protein intake should be much higher, uh, and so on and so forth.
That was very informative, Dr. Rashmi, and we are extremely delighted to have you here with us. It was a wonderful 2 day series, and I think the conversation is so unending. We feel like going on and on and on. But yes, we would like to thank you from the bottom of our heart for making out the time for the entire session and joining us, sharing all your valuable tips over here, spreading a lot of awareness from the perspective of diabetes and the skin health. Thanks a lot for being here with us, and I hope everyone has enjoyed too. And if you have enjoyed the session, learned so many new things, please hit the like button and keep joining us again tomorrow. Again, we are coming up with the nutrition and the skin health with one of the best dietitian. The session is at 8 p.m. So please make a note of the timings. Monday and Tuesday, since many people are working, we are keeping a session at 8 p.m. So please do make out the time and mark your calendar. Thank you so much for staying tuned with us. Thank you, Dr. Rashmi. It was wonderful to
My
have you
pleasure.
here with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and happy to take any questions anytime.
All right. Uh, there are specific questions only related to the brands they are inquiring about, which I have also texted on the group. But yeah, you can also suggest if there's any particular brands. People are actually very interested about that.
Yeah, we can go through the questions and do that. No worries.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is a question, ma'am, from Ritu that is there is any particular shampoo for dry hair?
For dry hair, typically, there are some good shampoos which are, hydrating. Sebamed has some good ones. They have a good product, and there are a lot of hyaluronic. But the main thing with dry hair is also to use. There are a lot of hair moisturizers which have come in, which have argan oil and other ingredients which are very helpful. So typically, shampoo is okay, but the moisturizers can do a better role because shampoo we hardly keeping it for 2 minutes, but the moisturizers then will help more.
There is another question that what is SP and what does it 50-25 power means?
The SPF, is it regarding SPF, the
Yes.
sunscreen? So it's the
Yes,
sun
ma'am.
protection factor. So all the sunscreens have been analyzed when how much they will be able to protect us. So first it is so typically there is something what we call minimal erythema dose, which happens in the skin when we expose it to the sun or light. And then when we apply the sunscreen and how much it is going to protect. So the time period and the thing, a lot of parameters around that. So that is called SPF. And typically in an Indian context, we need an SPF around 50 plus. That's a good number to have. 30 plus may not be very beneficial. 50 plus is a good number.
Ma'am, there are a lot of cons and calluses before diagnosis of diabetes. I get them removed, but what to do now that physically removal is dangerous? They want
Uh,
to ask, I guess, that whether the physical removal is dangerous or not. It can reoccur, and what will be your
yeah.
suggestion for?
So physically, see, commons typically callosities, we have to exfoliate them. So there are a lot of creams, especially salicylic based creams, which can be used, which will slowly exfoliate that hardened skin and make it more softer. And then even the removal will not become too invasive because I never go invasive when I remove corns and calluses because the healing always takes time, not just in diabetics, but in non-diabetics also. So because the skin is very thick there. So first we like to soften that complete callosity and then slowly we do a process called pairing. So that needs to be done at the hospital where the person, it could be a nurse or it could be the doctor who can remove the dead skin manually. And doing that on a regular basis will clear off the callosity and the form.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, apart from that, the scale mucin is too much in fashion these days. There's a question on
Sorry?
the chat box. Scale mucin,
Snail
snail
mucus.
mucin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Snail
Lot
mucus
of
moisture.
Korean influence of snail music.
Is
Mm.
it really good? Because I
It
personally
is
don't
very
have.
variable. There are a lot of like I have used it for my patients and across. What we have seen is that it has some role to play for sure, but in some people it can also lead to allergies. So don't pick. My suggestion is don't pick it up blindly. Only if it is prescribed by the dermatologist, then one can look into it. So don't do an OTC buy of it because many a times I've seen allergies also. People don't respond to it very well because ultimately it is product which is from a different organism. So how the body gives the immune response is very subjective, and especially
Mm.
people who have allergic to, let's say, seafood and things like that, obviously should be avoiding it. So, like many people are even allergic to eggs, right?
Yeah.
So then we look at even vaccinations. Sometimes they have normally egg medium and all that. So there are a lot of things there, a lot of research there.
Ma'am, another question that I would like to ask you is that how often a diabetic should meet a dermatologist? Because that is, I think, one of the most neglected part.
Yes.
How often one should meet or see the doctor?
Yeah. So firstly, Neha, important thing is for the patient, the diabetics also to be aware of themselves. So they'll have to examine their skin on a regular level, especially certain areas are give lot of importance, like the foot, absolutely should be examined, should be taken care of, and things like that. If they have any doubts in taking care of their foot, then they have to definitely visit a dermatologist to find out the right things to do. We should not allow that to be not taken given importance, and keep examining the skin in terms of the any changes which are happening within the body. It could be infection related, fungal infections, or anything like that. So first thing is your own checking which can happen. Apart from that, if every 3 months also they are able to visit and go to a dermatologist to clear their doubts and also discuss with them the products, I think that's a good time period.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think thanks a lot for your time. We have to end the session here. We have lack of time, and I think we have covered almost all the questions given on the chat. I feel completely blessed to have you here with us. Thanks a lot once again to be
Sure.
here with us. I'm looking forward to have many more sessions with you in the
Yeah.
future. Thank you.
Yeah. Mhm.
Thanks a
Thank you.
lot,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you for having me.